5-minute penalty to Chicago, a game misconduct, and then Manson having words with Steven. And now Butcher gets into it. We're going to have a brawl, folks. Stand by.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Tyler Cash here. It is another episode of Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast. Hanging out in my apartment in Las Vegas, Nevada, enjoying some Topo Chico seltzers. I am standing up and podcasting for the first time because I'm in a good mood. How are you doing, bud?
Good mood? I'm in a good mood. I want to stand up and podcast. What do you mean?
Dude, it's been a long week, honestly. I have tomorrow off. I have a Friday off. I'm very excited about that. Playoff hockey is great. And I don't know if you've checked your notes recently, but you're kind of losing so far in these choices that we had for round 3.
I mean, we all are, for what it's worth. Both of us.
Hey, I don't know. If I wasn't lazy, this is about the time of the podcast where I would splice in a clip of you telling me I'm crazy for saying the New York Rangers were a threat. Just saying.
The fact that the Canes shit the bed.
Okay. Well, they did. And, I don't know. It's great, man. It's been fun. Well, kind of fun. I don't feel like this matchup between the Oilers and the Avs is even fair when you say it's kind of boring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously got my shit kicked in, basically going 0-4 in the second round. I mean, the Blues one was a long shot. I mean, being a Blues fan, you got to go for it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Connor McDavid is playing like Connor McDavid should. They already interviewed him after the game today. He said, I haven't been playing my best hockey here. And, I mean, that's your captain saying that. He's probably speaking for everyone, quite honestly. So it's pretty much like you always say, it's not a series till a home team loses a game. So Edmonton can win 2 in Alberta. We'll see. But I just think it's more of the same. It's people just don't have an answer to the Avalanche aggression in terms of you come to us in terms of defense, but then as soon as you cross your blue line, basically we're attacking you. And there just hasn't been a way to combat that for whatever reason.
Or in some cases before we even cross the blue line, right? Like with that questionable offsides. Hey, what's your take on that, honestly? Because I don't think we chatted much about it. I saw that basically the NHL ruled that it was onside because he was carrying the puck in, but he didn't quite. Was it Cale Makar? He didn't touch the puck. He was directing the puck in, but it hadn't touched his stick again once it crossed the blue line. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and that's what that's silly rule, right? Where if you were to back in that same scenario where you're stick handling the puck, you're touching it here and there, but you're not touching it across the line, but you back in across, you're deemed to have possession. But when you're going forward, when you're stick handling the puck, you're not in possession of the puck. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's what I'm having a hard time understanding.
So it sounds like we're in agreement there that should have been offside. So like,
yeah. Do I think it changes the outcome of that game? No, but yeah, I do think that should have been offsides. That's just silly. The fact that we're even having these offsides reviews still to begin with is silly, in my opinion, too.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to dissect everything right down to the very inch, like we've seen games decided whether a skate was on the ice before they changed that rule a couple of years ago, all that stuff. And you're really going to talk about the fact that you're this far away from the blue line, but because he didn't touch it again once it crossed, it's madness. I haven't seen anybody with a right mind on Twitter or any social media back that. I know they were trying to explain it on what was it, Sportsnet it's ESPN. They were trying to explain it, and the funniest part was they had some guy go up to Gretzky in the box and try to explain to him what offsides meant, and that's how you know it's fucked, right? That's how you know it's just goofy. The great one himself has no idea. He's up in arms. But let's talk a little bit about that. We don't have any notes. This is just kind of free balling as we go, really, just enjoying playoff hockey. But we talked a little bit, or we haven't talked about how Gretzky basically called the Avs out. He's like, you're not going to win a Stanley Cup without defense. I think the exact quote was, or at least to something of this nature, I'm the most offensive-minded player that's ever played, and even I know you need defense to win championships. Something along those lines. I mean, do you agree with that take? Do you think the Avs stand a chance no matter who advances over in the East?
I think I think we both were in agreement that whoever won the Avs Blues series is going to the Cup in the West. I don't know, in all honesty. Still, it's one of those things where it's hard to not, as much as a St. Louis fan is, and it being a fucking Stan Kroenke owned team, it's never want to say it, but I mean, the fact that they lost Sam Girard, broken sternum, a guy they just signed to like a big extension recently too, who's played solid hockey for them, and they basically haven't missed a beat, one of their top 4 guys, and you're having guys like literally Jack Johnson step into the lineup, who is maybe a mediocre player at best. I see him as like a poor man's Bortuzzo, guy will put his body on the line, but won't actually go out and hit people too much. The fact that he's like stepping in and doesn't seem like they're missing a beat. It's hard to root against them. But like the crazy thing is, so I was just looking this up as we were talking too, because I know Kadri is UFA next year. The Avalanche have 9 UFAs next year and 2 RFAs, which is nuts. Granted, they have like 27 million cap space. No way you're getting all of that back in your lineup, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's kind of an all-in situation for them to a degree too.
And you said the same thing about the Minnesota Wild, and that made a lot of sense.
Wild's a completely different ball game. Like they're playing with a $70 million cap ceiling basically for these next 3 years, whereas the Avalanche just have a lot of guys with their term up. And if they wanted to bring back, 6 or 7 of these guys, they probably can. But
right.
Again, like a Kadri
is gonna require
possibly gone, or you're sacrificing your bottom 6 or your bottom 3 D men going forward, or whatever the case may be.
I said the same thing about this team a while back. I said that they're slowly realizing that not all these guys are going to take team friendly deals. Basically, as soon as Cale Makar signed that big ass contract, and then they were bounced in the second round last year, and you saw the aggravation in McKinnon's eyes and in his voice. He said, "I've been here for 9 years. We haven't done shit." And granted, they did advance. What was it to the conference finals for the first time in 20 years? Kudos to that. But also, you kind of looked weak against the Blues, who were, on paper, a way less superior team. They were beaten up. They had their backup goaltender in. I don't know, man. My biggest question mark with the Colorado Avalanche is goaltending. And now we're seeing even something crazier because Francouz, is that how you say his name? Francouz or
Francouz, something like
Francouz, that. Yeah. Okay. Francouz is now in net, and we were wondering what the situation was with their goaltending, because they said it was an equipment issue, and then he leaves the ice and doesn't come back. And in game 2, Francouz shuts out the Oilers, and now it's like 4-0. So it's like a big question mark. Is this going to be the guy moving forward? I mean, is Darcy Kemper going to make it back? Like, do we have any sort of word as to what kind of injury he's dealing with?
I think it's his eye again. He's not be able to track the puck. I think it's battling that, which is never good for anybody. And I mean, to be fair, I think Francouz last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, he had a shutout with the Avalanche too that year. I mean, for what it's worth, and he put up 3.23 goals against and 89 save percentage. He's around the same before this game as well. So, maybe it's every even a blind squirrel finds a nut type scenario for him. Not saying he's a bad goalie, just in pressure, just hasn't had it. Granted,
he's not going to be
out of their mind.
He's not going to be able to compete with Shesterkin if he advances. Like if they're really like going to count on him to be their goaltender moving forward, then I don't really see
if you're able to pot 4+ a night, is that really a concern? I mean, that's one of the things too is, and that's why going back to original point is like whoever won the Avs Blues series is probably going to the Cup final. I mean, the Oilers aren't really a system team at all, in my opinion. It's score and hope for the best. Otherwise, the Blues are a system team. By no means do they have the skill that the Avalanche had at the speed that the Avalanche had. No. Were they that close to squeaking out a game 7 without a Binnington, without a Krug? It was pretty damn close. Darren Helm shattered everyone's dreams of overtime, but it's one of those things where you play a structured, systemic team, they tend to get frustrated and like, yeah, they'll pour on the shots. They'll put on 40 plus shots in a night, but you'll have only 6 or 7 of those high danger chances. A lot of them will be from the outside or shots from the point looking for a tip, and that's how you beat the Avalanche. And that's where if you go back to the Blues even last year and they got swept by the Avalanche, like that was their go-to move. Nathan McKinnon just literally is a third D-man, basically just sitting up there waiting for the puck. And as soon as he gets it, he makes 2 moves, has a clear shot to the slot. And then O'Reilly was like, absolutely not. I'm not giving this to you once this series. And not once that he was able to make that play. So you make those adjustments, you can beat them. I don't think the Oilers can. And as much as I don't want the Avalanche to win this series, they're probably going to win this series. So,
yeah, I'm not an Avalanche fan by any stretch of the imagination. And I just don't, my biggest thing is the chemistry, right? Like everyone always dogs on teams for not having a reason to win. And if anyone needed a refresher course, look at what the Blues did. And I know that sounds like we're beating a dead horse here and you're like, oh, okay, fuck these guys. I'm from St. Louis. I got to see this, but that's a real team. They came together and they didn't have the best team on paper. They won the cup. They had the Gloria song, right? They had the moment where they were in last place and they overcame the odds, right? If you will. Dude, I'm feeling the same thing about the New York Rangers. They are the lowest percent odds to win the cup, right? I think it was 8% in these 4 teams. The Oilers were soaring over them in money odds. It was 26% over 8, something crazy like that.
You have Draisaitl and McDavid leading the league in scoring. It's hard to.
I mean, I get that when you're looking at statistics, but there's more to hockey than statistics, and that we're seeing that the camaraderie and the reason and the drive and good coaching. And I mean, number one above all is good goaltending. I mean, we're seeing that right now. You can basically fuck around as long as you want to, as long as you have a brick wall in net. And Shesterkin is great. Vasilevsky is great. I don't know what happened with game 1 with the Rangers squeaking out that 6-2 win. I mean, it's just massive.
I don't think they squeaked out a 6-2 win by any means.
I mean, squeaked out in a sense. They didn't squeak it because okay, a squeak would be a 3-2 win. I see what you're saying with that, but they squeaked it out in a sense that no one saw it fucking coming.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think it was a combination of the Lightning cruised into the conference finals, had a week off, and they get a gut check. Okay, Rangers actually will play hockey, so they actually got to play hockey type of a thing.
Okay, so you're still doubting him. So you're thinking it's like a hangover of waiting around, and you're not really believing the Rangers, are you?
I say I'm not believing it. It'll be a good series. I think it will come down to goaltending without a doubt. I think it's a situation of, and for example, you look up on Bovada, the odds for the series, they're still even money. The Lightning are still favored to win this series on Bovada after being down 1-0, which is nuts.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, they lost in New York, which I know Lo brought up. She was like, wait, why is this starting in New York? What the hell is this? And I'm like, yeah, they had the better record. And during the regular season, Shesterkin was a better goaltender than Vasilevsky. Yeah, Vasilevsky is coasted. Yeah, I mean, he's nuts. I mean, there's no argument that these goaltenders are the best in the league, not even with what's left, but the best in the league. But
what's crazy is they actually finished with the exact same amount of points in the regular season. Tampa had the regular season tiebreaker against the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers had the 2nd seed in the division. The Tampa Bay Lightning had the 3rd seed.
Okay.
Why that makes sense, I don't know. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, right?
That's going to be a deal breaker or a game changer, if you will, because the Rangers won.
Excuse me. No, I take that back. They did have a tiebreaker. I was looking at row. I'm so used to that from years past. So the Rangers had the regulation wins, not the row tiebreaker. So that's why same record. They have home ice, even though they had the exact same.
And I mean, that's a big reason why the Rangers are a threat, and they've won 2 Game 7s in a row. They've really grinded down. They don't look beaten down. Like they seem relatively healthy. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're without Braden Point, right? Which is their leading goal scorer. And that's something people shouldn't downplay, because Braden Point was a big part of both of their past Stanley Cup victories. And then they had to get rid of Blake Coleman. They had to shed some salary cap. So they're not quite as strong. Yeah, they're still a scary team. They're great. But meanwhile, we have the New York Rangers, who are, I believe, and you can stat check this, I think they're 10 million under the cap, somewhere in that vicinity. And they're still like rostering a team that could potentially raise the cup. I mean, there's something to be said about that kind of drive. I mean, rostering a team that's 10 million under the cap, and competing with a team that was basically, what was it? What did Kucherov say? 16? Were they 16 million over the cap? Was that what it was?
Yeah, something like that.
With injuries?
Yeah, making the shirts and everything.
And I think it was on their rings. And I'm not trying to point fingers and say that's why they won their cups, because the Tampa Bay Lightning are a great hockey club. But I don't know. I think it says a lot about the franchise as a whole if you're that under the cap and you're able to compete, and let alone dominate that game 1, 6-2. It's just insane.
Yeah, for what it's worth. So if you look at Cap Friendly right now, it's super inaccurate because it's already taken into account for next year. The Rangers were actually like $1 million over the cap with IR for this year.
Okay.
So they're right at it, which still, I mean, it's a situation where, I mean, you look at their roster, right? And they have the oldest guy on their roster is Reeves. Ryan
Kreider?
Reeves, a super role player.
Okay.
Justin Braun, who is also a super big role player, like bottom 6 guy. And then you have Kreider and Panarin at 30. So 35 for Reeves, 34 for Braun, and then 30 for Kreider and Panarin. So you have a pretty young team there too.
Right.
And that's where I'm thinking, like, they don't have the experience. They don't really have the depth. They don't understand what it takes to truly win. You know, they're in the Eastern Conference Final. So, you know, I can't say that I'm right there to this point. But, yeah, I mean, I still think this series comes down to what goaltender doesn't really crap the bed than the other. I don't want to say game 1 was entirely on Vasilevsky by any means, but I think that was more of a reality check for the Lightning there as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point to bring up, that they've been rested and not really tested. That rhymed. No, no intention there, but and the Rangers have been grinding, and we've seen in many seasons past, the team that just keeps going, you know, keeps pushing forward is going to have that momentum, especially if you can stay healthy. But like I said, man, the story to me is the New York Rangers. They have the all the will and all the drive. They're playing the game by the rules, and then you have the whole situation with the kid line, right? Which is I'm trying to look it up. The kid line is
Lafreniere, Kakko,
and Cheadle.
Yeah, Cheadle.
And they've just been insane, like lighting it up. Just been, I don't know. It's fun to watch if you're a hockey fan, whether or not you want the Rangers to win or not. Like, if you watch that series, we're gonna see the real conference final. What's going on? I got to be real with you. I had no desire to watch this game tonight. I was playing Fortnite, actually hoping you were gonna get on. I was like, it was like 4-0 in the second period, and I was like, dude, where the fuck is Tommy?
There are 3 goals in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see the Oilers putting up much of a fight. And
so like, yeah, I mean, to get to that, I'll go back to it in a second, but it's like, what's interesting is, like, I looked at some of the, like, I don't like to go into advanced stats too much here for these games, but like Money Puck, Lightning had a 78% chance to win that game. The Lightning were expected to score 4.5 goals. The Rangers were expected to score 2.5, and yet the Rangers won 6-2. So, I mean, maybe in my eyes, the Lightning didn't play as bad as I'm thinking, but yeah, again, I don't, it's hard to root against the Lightning. They know what it takes to win. Last 2 years, I still think that absolute shit kicking that they got from the Blue Jackets just pissed them off entirely. And I don't think they're going to let that ever happen to them again, for as long as this core's together. And I think that's just still fuel for them, quite honestly. But yeah, I would say I'm feeling I'm going to be making a bet on the Lightning to win tomorrow. So,
I mean, if they don't, they're done.
I still don't think they're done.
Oh, yeah.
Same as the Oilers. Like, yeah, they're down 2-0. If you don't lose at home, you don't lose at home.
I know you've said that. I feel like I hear your voice saying that to me when I'm at bed.
That's literally what happens with the Rangers and Hurricanes.
Okay.
Exactly what happened. I
feel extremely confident. And I wanted to look up the facts or the stats, if you will, of that kid line, which is their third line. 7 goals, 1 assist for 8 points in 15 games for Philip Cheadle, who's 22 years old. Capo Caco, he's the weakest of them. He's got 1 goal, 3 assists in 15 games, so 4 points, not great. But Lafreniere finally showing up, 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points in 15 games, and that's their third line. And dude, Zibanejad, right? Dude, so before the game last night, Lowe mentioned that Zibanejad was plus 500 to score a goal. Plus 500 for Zibanejad to score a goal in a playoff game. He's just been lighting it up. And, of course, that hit, which is just insane. But
hey now, what's up, goons? Tyler Cash here, and it's time to pause the podcast and chat a bit about our amazing sponsors over at Schlafly Brewing Company. Hockey and beer. Does it get any better? I don't think so. Schlafly has been brewing up some of the best beer I've ever had for many years, and it's officially that time of year for their famous Raspberry Hefeweizen. It's one of my personal favorites. Their Raspberry Hefeweizen distinguishes itself among others in that it's a true fruit beer. None of this fruit-flavored crap. It uses real raspberry in the brewing process. Once the fruit sugar ferments out, the aroma and flavor stay in, making this a delightful drinkable beer that's not too sweet or tart. It's refreshing and balanced with a natural hazy pink coloring. Because it's low in alcohol, it brings out a smooth dose of weediness, and it's perfect for summer. It's perfect for any time. Download the Schlafly app or visit schlafly.com to locate and devour yours today. That's SCHLAFLY.com. Schlafly Beer. Drink Mo Beer. This podcast is brought to you by 1 in a Million Handyman Services Incorporated. 1 in a Million is a family-run local company that's been serving the Las Vegas, Nevada area for over 15 years. They are licensed and insured throughout Clark County and travel as far as Boulder City, Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas. 1 in a Million specializes in smaller home repairs, but also tackles commercial repairs. They've worked around the Strip, residential homes, commercial buildings, you name it, 1 in a Million has made their mark. With a 4.5-star Yelp review and countless of happy customers throughout the 15 years, you can guarantee you'll be happy with their services. All previous customers can refer an unlimited amount of friends and family for a $25 referral credit, which would come off of any future projects and or repairs if they decide to use 1 in a Million. This offer also extends to the Fourth Line Goon listeners. Mention this podcast and you will receive a $25 referral credit that will come off of the total cost of your repairs. 1 in a Million is open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and you can find them on the web at juaninamill.com. That's JUANINAMILL.com, or you can also find them at juan.inamill on Instagram. 1 in a Million Handyman Services won't let you down. Check them out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You already knew I'm on the bandwagon. I'm all about it. I'm not downplaying the Lightning by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't think with losing Braden Point and the drive's just not quite there. They won back-to-back cups.
Lost Braden Point unfaced against the Panthers, but it was the Panthers. So
yeah, what was the Panthers? The Panthers scored three goals that entire series or something like that. And someone tweeted, imagine being the Florida Panthers. You gave up first-round picks for Sherratt, Giroux, you went all in, and not only are you watching not only did you only score 3 goals in the entire second round, but you're watching what is his name that went to the Rangers? Vetrano? Am I saying his name right?
Yeah.
Light it up and score game-winning goals is just that's crazy. But you know what? This is a good leeway because we are freeballing this. Like I said, we don't have any notes here. But you went on this rant earlier that you messaged me about how there's no toughness in playoff hockey anymore. And I think the shining example of that is where the refs stepped in and stopped Patty Maroon, the big rig, from fighting Grim Reaver, Ryan Reeves. Like that's something that every hockey fan wants to see, but instead they made this like ref sandwich. I mean, why do you think that the playoffs have gone soft?
There's clearly some direction, I think, from the league in stopping this from happening for whatever reason. I mean, I understand it's not the early 2000s and early 90s where guys would, drop their bucket, drop their gloves, casually skate a circle around center ice and then go throw. If that were to happen in NHL, 2 lines would be on both guys. It wouldn't even get close to that. So it's like I looked it up and I'm like, we're over 2 rounds in at this point. How many fights have they been? Checked out hockeyfights.com. Shout out to them. Fantastic website, as always. There's been 6 fights, quote unquote, this playoffs. 5 of them, in my opinion, are I'm going to grab you kind of when you're not expecting it. I'm going to get a couple of punches in. You're going to tackle me back, and that's the end of it. It's not really a fight.
Yeah.
I think the closest one we saw was that one with Morgan Riley and Jan Ruda of the Lightning. There was a big scrum, and then I think Riley punched him enough to where his visor like cut his head. So he's like bleeding from the visor, not the punch. And actually, I think Riley's like knuckles got scraped or bloodied from that as well. It's just like you're not seeing these fights, and it's like I'm throwing these names out here, right? Aaron Ekblad and Anthony Mantha. They don't really fight ever. Jacob Trouba and Steven Lorentz after that Max Domi hit. Trouba, as much as a shitbag he's been this postseason, he really doesn't fight that much. John Klingberg and Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk fought twice in that Dallas series. Fought twice. Again, got basically hit twice and tackled, and then he went and tackled John Klingberg after hitting him once. It's just these fights aren't here. You have a Zach Cassian, you have a Ryan Reeves, you have a Pat Maroon, all who are still in the playoffs at this point, and none of them have a fighting nature. I'm not saying they need to go out and look for a fight, but you're telling me there hasn't been a single opportunity for any of these guys to step up and answer the bell and set a tone and basically say, you're going to do that shit, deal with me. End of the story. It's just not there. So in my opinion, like, oh, cool, Reeves can lay a body check on me. I can take that, whatever. I don't have to fight him, clearly. I don't have to fight Pat Maroon.
I mean, they should let him fight. I mean, that's the biggest example of the postseason so far is Pat Maroon and Reeves were like literally reaching over.
I mean, you could even say the Tony DeAngelo Reeves scenario from last series too. It's just like, I mean, even more so, like you kind of just see it in hockey culture where the whole situation with Bennington and Kali Rosen and Nazem Kadri going into Bennington, and Bennington gets hurt, leaves, injures his knee. Shen goes over to him beginning of the next game, basically like chirping him, wanting him to fight, and he just doesn't do anything. So what do? You have David Apron basically tackle him from behind and basically just get in his face, and like that's it. Like there's no repercussions for hurting someone, whether you wanted to do it or not, whether it was accidental or unintentional, whatever the case may be. There's no accountability in that area. So players just think like, cool, I'll just do whatever the hell I want. I'll go out here and dangle. I'll go out here and, have our defenseman take a hard hit here and there. It's just, that's all you see. And I get like fighting isn't the end all be all of hockey, but the fact that you have these guys who act tougher than they are and they have nobody to essentially bring them down a peg or 5. It's just kind of making the game shitty, in my opinion, where they can just kind of run around and feel like they can do what they want. Or, oh, you sprayed ice in my goalie's face for no reason. Oh, get out of here.
Just a face.
Please don't. Yeah, please don't do that again. Like it's just
give me my $5,000 fine and let's just get on with it. But yeah, you're right. Like guys like Cassian. I mean, where the fuck is he? What is he doing? What's his point? Like Lucic What's his fucking point? It's just a waste. Like I see people questioning whether Lucic is going to retire or not because he has nothing to prove, and he's not even like throwing his weight around. And yeah, these hits are. I'm with you, man. This is the most excited I think I've been about matchups without my teams being involved, and there's no physicality. There's nothing to it, and I was hoping, as you said, with that matchup between the Rangers and the Canes, like D'Angelo yelling, screaming, and Reeves getting in his face. And what was it? Boston before that. And Marchand was like, "You're a racist. You're a racist." And it's like, shit, dude. Let these guys fucking hash it out. Let's see some old school hockey. I'm worried, like you are, that it's gone soft and they're trying to find a way to glorify the sport, especially with ESPN.
That's
being
already
involved.
That's what's been happening this last decade. Is you don't
Yeah.
have enforcers coming up, you don't have enforcers playing anymore. You rightfully so are promoting the likes of Connor McDavid and Cale Makar and Leon Draisaitl and Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad and Stamkos and Point, etc. Like those guys have skill and they score goals and they make amazing plays. Like, yeah, promote those guys. But the fact that there's no one there to truly protect them, like if someone were to go level Nathan McKinnon next game and just stand over him,
Who's going to stand up?
I have to fight Cale Makar, who's not going to step up. I have to fight Nazem Kadri, who's like 5'11". Like,
no, they had a tough guy, right? Was it McDermott?
Yeah, but he doesn't play. He's scratched every game.
Right. Yeah. Right. And what are you going to do? Like sacrifice a spot in your lineup to send out a tough guy? I mean, you got Kadri as a little shithead who's going to take runs at goalies and throw his weight around, but it's not really going to make much of a difference. He's not going to drop the gloves and fucking fight, which is why I think it's interesting that Gallant has been playing Reeves. Wait, I cut off there. I think it's interesting that that's why Gallant has played Reeves as often as he has. He knows how to teeter on the lines of playing dirty, I guess, but really just getting under people's skin. I don't know. It's a league of instigators and shit talkers, but no one's really answering the bell. So I'm with you on that, and I think it's lame because so far we have yet to see anything. We had Brady Tkachuk, Corey Perry, Pat Maroon, Ryan Reeves. Who am I missing here? There's so many of these guys that claim to be the last of the enforcers, and they're not really dropping the gloves. It's just lame to see.
Like my point too is, and what's really interesting to me is you go back last year with the semi bubble, we had I think 10 or 11 fights, and then the year where we had a true bubble, we had like 18 fights. And again, yeah, could we still get to 10? Probably. I'd be shocked if we see even one or two more. Honestly, yeah. But again, you have these guys. It's like just going back 2 years ago. Like I'm seeing stuff where it's like Matt Martin fought twice. You know, you had guys like Torrey Krug dropping the mitts, Tom Wilson dropping the mitts. You know, Tkachuk and Perry went at it. Lucic dropped the mitts. It's like, you know, a lot of these guys you expect them to. You expect them to answer something, and I just don't know if it's a combination of like they're wanting to go and players like, yeah, I got super glue. I'm not fighting Cassian. Like, fuck that. Like, you know, I don't know what the case is, but again, you have these big guys on your team that could easily go at each other, but they don't. And there's some direction from the league of by any cost, get in front of anyone you can and prevent any sort of fight from breaking out, which I think is pretty dumb because one of these days a lineman is going to fall on his head and get busted trying to break up a fight when he should just let it happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are getting paid to do that and they know their role and that's why they're there. So, you know, with you on that, and, you know, the podcast is called Fourth Line Goon.
So I thought we should address it for sure.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, you understand that we appreciate aggressive hockey and we love that old school mentality, and it has a place even in the playoffs, and it's a bummer so far this year. And it's crazy that you brought this up. The bubble. Yeah. There were a lot of fights. I feel like they were trying to like rally and like amp their team up, I guess.
You could, you know, turn that to so many reasons. Like we didn't play for 4 or 5 fucking months. Like I'm pissed off. I want to just beat the shit out of somebody. I'm stuck in a bubble. It's the best thing I can get right now, whatever the case may be. But I mean, just looking at stuff like, you know, Delorier on the Wild had 13 fights. didn't fight once in that Blues Wild series. I think he got injured towards the end, but it's just like you're seeing the fight log for the year. There's a healthy amount of fight throughout the regular season. And again, I understand, you don't want to put yourself down by sitting in the box for 5 minutes or potentially, giving the team a power play by instigating something or whatever. But there's just too much oversight on, we can't let these guys punch it out. But, we can let guys get their heads drilled into the boards and miss high sticks left and right and, call ticky-tack penalties instead, which
they've been calling so much shit too.
Power plays lead to goals, which leads to more ratings.
They've been calling so much shit. It's next level. I don't know if it's that I'm paying more attention this year or what, but they definitely been calling a lot more power plays as far as this goes. So maybe that's why these guys are scared to get more aggressive. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, though, you're not really getting suspended. They're not throwing suspensions out this postseason. It's just been fines so far. So strange as it is, but so I feel like I forgot. We didn't really lay out the playing field here. We didn't talk about this prior to round 3, what our picks were. We did upload it to Facebook and Twitter. Just to clarify, I went with the New York Rangers and the Colorado Avalanche. And Tommy, what were your picks for this third round that are not going well?
Complete opposite. Not going well so far. Oilers and Lightning.
Okay. Yeah. So we just wanted to lay that out there. I know we posted about it and we started chatting, but we didn't really dissect what our picks were going to be. So that's where we're at. So far, Tommy is very wrong. I'm just throwing it out there. Hey, I did order off of Barstool. I ordered the Biz is wrong in the Rangers font. Shout out to those guys in Spit and Chicklets. It's just amazing shirt. I love how they just own how intense Biz has been as of late with going all in on the Rangers and all that great shit. Well, going all against the Rangers and whatever it be. But we do have a lot of questions and not much time, so let's dive into that. We appreciate you guys checking out the podcast, fourthlinegoon.com. Make sure you check us out on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, all that great stuff, and subscribe on YouTube. That's where we're really uploading all these videos. We're just going to kind of cruise through them because we do have a lot of questions tonight. First question from DeBrady Mac, Tom F. and Brady ×7 on Twitter. Do the Cats keep Brunette? If not, who do they hire? So I'm going to let you start with that.
In terms of coaching, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not a coaching problem, right?
I don't think it is. I mean, I think if anything, you basically you won the President's Trophy, and your power play just couldn't do anything, literally anything in the playoffs. So whoever's running your power play, fire that guy, move on from him, keep everyone else intact, in my opinion.
Agreed. Next question: prediction for the two teams in the finals. Are you changing your predictions at all? Or are you gonna stand strong?
Die living by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah, it's gonna be Rangers and Avs. And I said, I think 4 episodes a way ago, I said something about being red versus blue. And the Avs aren't red. I guess they're more of a maroon and purple kind of vibe. I don't know, but I think it's going to be the Avs and Rangers. And I really truthfully think, especially if it's Francouz in net, then the Rangers have an advantage when it comes to that. Crystal Pepsi on Twitter, is Colorado too good right now? No, they're playing a really shitty team. That's my answer. What about you?
They haven't played, like I said, they haven't played a system team besides the Blues, so they struggled against who weren't healthy.
Right. Exactly.
My concern is I don't know if the Rangers can withhold that. I have more confidence in the Lightning, which is what I'm hoping for if the Avs advance, personally.
All right, gentleman Jim 20 on Twitter, for $500,000. I guess we have to pick one of these. 1, fight Bob Probert for 90 seconds, no helmet or visor. I'm assuming he's saying on ice.
Okay.
2, block 3 Al McKennis clappers with no gear. 3, possess the puck against Duncan Keith for 5 minutes, and he gets to high stick you all he wants. Or 4, Evander Kane plays 1 round of roulette with the whole 500K. Holy shit. This is one of the best questions we've had yet. So
amazing.
Kudos to that. I'm going to go block 3 Al McInnes clappers with no gear because he's going to shoot 3 shots. I'm going to assume maybe 2 will hit me.
I'm assuming you're sliding right in front of the puck, so it's hitting you regardless. Like he's waiting for you to slide and boom.
I'm going to go with that. So what are you doing? Probert, McInnes, Duncan Keith, or Evander Kane?
If it's current day Al McInnes, not saying he doesn't have a hard clapper today, yes. Otherwise, I'll let it ride with Evander Kane. Much as I hate the guy.
Well, $500,000 is he playing numbers? Is he putting it all on red or black? I don't know.
If it's red or black, give it to him. If I had to
50,
choose,
50.
if I had to choose one of the other 3, like it's still call me crazy, but I feel like with Probert, I could just get dummied a couple times and just turtle and have him throw me around, take some body shots, and then move on with my life. Where with McInnes, I'm gonna break some bones, dude. I'm gonna lose some teeth with Duncan Keith. Like,
hey, it's $500,000 though. I'll take a couple of clappers and break a bone, honestly. And there's some other great questions, but we're gonna leave them for next episode. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. fourthlinegoon.com, Fourth Line Goon on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. And if you haven't yet, watch the new Stranger Things. It's been fucking awesome. So
my to-do list.
Cheers, everybody.
Better.